Texas A&M trying to break a dubious streak Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. Can LSU prevent it from happening? It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get great podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked on College for $20 off your first purchase. We've got a lot to dive into today, and to be very candid, you're going to hear something in a little bit from a former LSU great linebacker that you're not going to like. I asked Darry Beckwith, who was an All-SEC, multiple-time All-SEC linebacker at LSU, a national champion, if this defense is ready to stop Marcel Reed, and as a defender, how he would prepare for the LSU offense. I'm warning you, you're not going to like this answer if you're an LSU fan. I'm presuming many of you are. There's probably some A&M fans watching, and I welcome you to the show this week. But you're not going to like this answer. If you're an LSU fan, you're going to hear it in just a little bit. If you are an LSU fan, something you may revel in this week is the fact that history is on your side. A&M, since joining the SEC in 2012, has yet to have the breakout season. Their first year, of course, in 2012, Johnny Manziel wins the Heisman Trophy. The Aggies go 10-2. They win the Cotton Bowl over Oklahoma to win their 11th game, and they haven't sniffed that amount of success since. You could throw the asterisk COVID year in there, which is why ultimately they gave Jimbo Fisher the long extension that ended up costing him $75 million to get out of that mistake. But by and large, they've earned the moniker of Texas 8-4 because that's really what Texas A&M has been since they've been in the SEC. They have just not been a team that has ever found the consistency, the winning consistency that they really sought, especially considering their investment. After Kevin Sumlin's 11-2 season, they went 8-4, 7-5, 8-4, 8-4, 7-5. Jimbo Fisher gets hired. They go 8-4, win a bowl game. 7-5, win a bowl game. Then came the COVID year where they went 8-1, then won the Orange Bowl to go 9-1. And then they went 8-4, 5-7, 7-5. Then Jimbo was fired. And last year, Mike Elko comes in and goes, you guessed it, 8-4. That's what they are. That's what they've been since they came into the SEC. It's not a knock. It's not an insult. It is their reality. That's what Texas A&M has been since they came into the league. They're a 7 or 8 win team every year, despite incredible resources by way of NIL, in high school NIL initially, in facilities, in coaching, in staff, in transfer portal, and all of it. They've had the investment. They've had the buy-in. They have not brought it all together. And Mike Elko knows that's something this team has to overcome.
We came here with a vision of what this program should be. We knew in order for that to become a reality, we were going to have to do that. The vision of this program has not been this program's reality. We've talked about that since I got here, that, we can't just keep saying we want to be something. We're actually at some point going to have to go out and do it. That was going to require us winning on the road, winning SEC games on the road, beating top 10 teams. Like, all of that was part of why we haven't been able to chase this elusive title that we've been searching for so long, or do any of those things. And so, I don't know that I find tremendous joy. It's good to see the program continuing to move in the right direction. I think that's how I take all of that.
So the Aggies right now are 7-0. Undefeated, ranked third in the country, but they find themselves actually in a very similar spot they were a year ago when they played LSU. Remember, they lost their opener at home to Notre Dame, and then they rattled off 6 straight wins. And LSU and Texas A&M, at the time they played a year ago, were the last 2 remaining undefeated teams in conference play. And LSU, of course, went to A&M. They had the Aggies in the chokehold with Connor Wegman out there. Mike Elko made the switch to Marcel Reed. The game flipped, and A&M went on to win it. They went into the top 10. They were the last remaining undefeated team in the league. And from there, they went on to lose 4 of their last 5. Lost a week later to South Carolina, and it just unraveled on Texas A&M from there, again, losing 4 of their last 5 games to go. Guessed it, 8-4, losing the bowl game, finish 8-5. The other bit of history working against. So anyway, all that to say, yes, A&M feels really good about where they are right now, but they have been in this spot before literally every year that they've been in the Southeastern Conference. So the other bit of history that is really significant on Saturday, and this is something, by the way, that is not an LSU fan or media cooked up narrative. Mike Elko this week was at his weekly press conference to preview the LSU game, and the Texas A&M media asked this question. Not me, not LSU media jumping on a conference call. This isn't a fan Twitter message board type conversation. The people that covered Texas A&M football every day sat in a press conference and asked Mike Elko the question about Texas A&M's inability to win in Tiger Stadium. Remember, A&M came into the league in 2012. The first year in the conference, LSU played at Kyle Field. The Tigers won the first 6 in this matchup, home and away, until 2018 when A&M broke through in the 7 overtime games. Since then, the home teams have dominated. The home teams have won 7 straight in this series, starting with LSU in 2017, A&M in 2018, and the home teams have won every year since, which means Texas A&M, since they've been in the league now for almost a decade and a half, has never won in Tiger Stadium. Not since they've been in the conference. They've won in Tiger Stadium, just not since they've been in the conference. So Mike Elko was asked again, not by LSU fans, by A&M media, why can't you win in Tiger Stadium?
For a large period of time, we weren't, we didn't go down there physically and stand up to the challenge. I think when you saw some of the early games, I think that was kind of always the okay, this is what the SEC looks like. I think as our program grew, we started to get closer and closer. Obviously, my first experience was going down there and playing the 2019 team. That wasn't a lot of fun, but that was historically one of the best teams in college football. I think when we went down there in 21, it was obviously a much more competitive game from a physical standpoint, and I think that's the gap that we've tried to close as a program. And so, obviously, the series has been very balanced since I've been here in 2018. Someone's going to crack through at some point on the road, and, Saturday's an opportunity for us to be the team that does it.
Remember, so Elko was the defensive coordinator at A&M from 2018 to 2021. So his first year as DC under Jimbo was that 7 overtime game. And then a year later, LSU hung 50 on him in the first half or whatever it was in 2019. As he said, that wasn't a fun experience. And then in the COVID year, A&M won at Kyle Field. And then despite the fact that Ed Ogeron had already been fired and was a lame duck coach, A&M came to Baton Rouge at the end of the 21 season, and LSU won that game 24-21. Despite it being a wasted season, a lame duck coach, and all that stuff, A&M still couldn't win that game in Baton Rouge against a 500 LSU football team. That ended up, they were 5-6 at the time, ended up 6-6 after they beat Texas A&M. And then a year ago was Elko's first year as the head coach, game at Kyle Field. We know how that went. LSU was dominating the game until the Marcel Reed switch. So it's one of those things where that bit of history exists for a reason. It's really hard to play in Tiger Stadium. It's hard to win, for opponents to win in Tiger Stadium. It's why Brian Kelly's record in Tiger Stadium is what he is. Lost the game to Tennessee during the day in his first season in Baton Rouge, but he's been incredible in night games in Tiger Stadium. Last year, Alabama's win was the first opponent to come in and win a night game in Tiger Stadium during the Brian Kelly era. Because Tiger Stadium is, I say it often, it has a lot of the same issues that every venue in and college football has. LSU got caught up in that expansion race, over the course of a couple of decades, trying to grow stadiums to 100,000 plus. And I always say it's like someone bought a fleet of horses the day the Model T was invented. You'd be better off contracting your stadium, reducing capacity and adding premium seating, because you're not going to find people to sit in the 600 level to watch little dots running on the field and pay what they have to do to sit in traffic and all the things that you know. But the point is, LSU and Tiger Stadium had that problem just like every other venue does. But the benefit LSU has, and will still maintain this, Tiger Stadium is as good, and I believe the best big game venue in sports. When the moment is right, it's a night game, a big opponent coming in. The Tigers are playing for something meaningful, and LSU fans need to rise to the occasion. Tiger Stadium is still as good a big game venue as there is in any sport in the world. And when Tiger Stadium is peak Tiger Stadium, that place is hell for opponents. And I think it's going to be hell for A&M this weekend. It's a big reason why the Aggies have not won in Tiger Stadium since they've been in the conference. And LSU's pretty desperate on Saturday, just like they were a year ago when Ole Miss came to town and they ended up winning that game. A desperate LSU team at home, night game, looking to keep that streak alive. I don't think it's any coincidence why the point spread is just where it is, inside of a field goal. Aggies trying to break that streak. And there's another sort of dubious number that Texas A&M is staring at that kind of is working in LSU's favor. I'll get to that here as we continue. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail. From the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery, you can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And today's brought to you by Peloton, which is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps. It suggests the right weights. It corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. O-N-E, onepeloton.com. So I mentioned that Texas A&M has another bit of dubious history working against it Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. And it's the fact that Texas A&M has to play back-to-back road conference games. Now, that may seem like a small thing, but if you look historically in the Southeastern Conference, when teams have to go on the road in conference in consecutive weeks, I'm not talking about open dates. I'm talking when included, not like a road game, open date, road game. I mean, back-to-back road conference games. It is very rare to see teams win back-to-back road conference games. For example, look at LSU a season ago. They had the great win against Ole Miss at home. They go on the road against Arkansas and were so impressive in that win. Maybe LSU's best performance of the season. What did they do a week later? They went to College Station and blew that 10-point third quarter lead and lost to Texas A&M. It is hard to go on the road back-to-back weeks and win in the conference. And as a matter of fact, Texas A&M has only done that once since joining the league, and it was 2012. The Johnny Manziel season, their first year in the SEC, and they didn't just win back-to-back games. They won back-to-back-to-back road conference games. After the LSU loss at home, A&M went to Auburn and won. A week later, they went to Starkville and beat Mississippi State. And then a week after that, they went to Tuscaloosa and had that epic upset of Alabama, 29-24. It was back-to-back-to-back road conference wins for A&M in 2012. Since then, every opportunity they've had, 2013, 2015, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2022, 6 more opportunities. A&M has not won back-to-back road conference games. In 2013, they lost back-to-back weeks at LSU and at Missouri. In 2015, they beat Vanderbilt. A week later, lost at LSU. That was, again, the Les Miles carried off game. In 2017, they beat Ole Miss. A week later, they lost, you guessed it, at LSU. In 2018, if you look at the 2018 season, they played in consecutive weeks on the road where they played Mississippi State and lost. A week later, played at Auburn and lost. Back-to-back road conference games. A year later in 2019, I can keep going. They lost at Georgia, then at LSU in 2019 at the end of that season. And the last time they had to do it in 2022, they lost at Mississippi State. A week later, lost at Alabama. For good measure, they had an open date and then lost at South Carolina. Point being, it is very difficult to go on the road in consecutive weeks in the conference and win. It's very rarely done. A&M's done it once in 7 tries since they joined the league, and it was Johnny Manziel's incredible year. Now, maybe this Marcel Reed-led team is the one that can replicate that feat, but they're going to have to do it in Tiger Stadium, a place where they haven't won since joining the SEC, as we just discussed. Now, I asked Darry Beckwith, former LSU linebacker from Parkview Baptist in Baton Rouge, who was an All-SEC, a multiple-time All-SEC linebacker, was an NFL linebacker with the Chargers. His career got cut short, unfortunately, because of knee injuries. But Darry Beckwith was an outstanding linebacker at LSU. And I asked him if this defense is ready to defend Marcel Reed better than they did a year ago. Because remember, when Reed came in the game, that game flipped. People forget, in that game in Kyle Field a season ago, Marcel Reed only threw 2 passes. Either 2 passes in that football game. Marcel Reed, 2 passes in that football game. But it was his ability to affect the game, running the football, that ultimately was the difference that opened up that game. Reed was 2 for 2 for 70 yards. He had a 54-yarder, but he ran 9 times for 62 yards and scored 3 rushing touchdowns, all in the second half. So I asked Darry, is LSU defensively ready, more equipped to defend against Marcel Reed?
I hope so. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Right.
So if it happens again, that's on these players and his coaching staff. And listen, I want to put things in perspective when it comes to the zone read. I think people are like, man, how can you not stop a zone read? How can somebody not take the dive? How can somebody not take the quarterback? But people at home need to realize this is a new age offense. These zone reads are tagged with the RPO. So what that means, your linebackers, like back when I played in the Ice Age, when it was a zone read, and I saw the running back come down the A gap, I knew I had the running back in the A gap. Or if I was front side and the running back went to A gap and the tackle blocked down, I knew how to step up and I had the quarterback. It was simple, nice and simple. But now these linebackers, these backside linebackers and frontside linebackers have to be extremely patient because of their RPO tag. So, for instance, if you're a frontside linebacker and you know you have the quarterback and you go too quick, he reads that, he's going to throw a hot route over your head. So you have to have extremely eye discipline and you have to be patient. And when you do see run, you have to commit that it's run. That's why it's so imperative. Linebackers these days, these guys have to be able to run. That's why you see a Whit Weeks and those guys like that who can run and get sideline to sideline, because it takes extreme patience, eye discipline, and knowing when to commit when you know it's a run. Because if you commit too early with their RPO tag to it, they can throw the hot route over your head. So I do think they are better equipped this year. I think they've done a good job against running quarterbacks. You know, Diego Pavia last week was just an anomaly because most of his runs came on broken pass plays, right? Mm-hmm. And they couldn't sack him. It wasn't like he just lined up and just, let me just run a power and run down your throat. He made plays like sandlot football, like Johnny Manziel, which I can't stand. But anyway, that's what happened. But I think they are well equipped this year to handle that. zone read offense.
It is worth mentioning the safety play for LSU this year is so dramatically improved. AJ Halsey's been awesome. Tamarcus Cooley has been really good as well. It is very likely, you heard Darry mention Whit Weeks. My understanding is very likely LSU is going to be without Whit Weeks this week again for Texas A&M. See maybe through the bye how he feels if you're able to get him back against Alabama. But look, Marcel Reed, as much as we're going to talk about his ability to run, he ran for 3 touchdowns in that game against LSU in the second half. On the season so far, 4 rushing touchdowns. Now he's averaging 4.7 yards a carry. He's got 51 rushing attempts on the season. Now sacks count against your rushing total. And he's been sacked 6 times. So really it's 45 rushing attempts for Marcel Reed. But there's only one game where he's had double-digit rushing attempts. That was Utah State. When you look at him statistically, so far through 7 games this year, he matches up to what his production was a season ago, almost identically. From the passing yards, 15 touchdowns a year ago, 15 touchdowns through 7 games this year, 6 interceptions a year ago, just 4 so far this year. Completion percentage is almost identical. He is playing effectively the same ball that he did a season ago. But remember, after that LSU game, when he became the starter, is when A&M's skid started, and they lost 4 of their last 5 with Marcel Reed at the helm. This year, they flipped it in large part because they're able to run the ball and because the defense has been outstanding. And I asked Darry Beckwith, as a defensive player, how would he scheme against this LSU offense? You're not going to like this answer, but you'll hear it next. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, saw amazing deals. Talking about your favorite college football game as low as $25. Honestly, it's faster, it's cheaper, and less stressful than any other way to buy tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. And we're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. You know, part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System, Our Lady of the Lake is committed to the Baton Rouge community. Just this year, the health system has approved more than $250 million in capital expenditures, investing in the future of our region's healthcare with projects including a major ER renovation at the Regional Medical Center, new observation beds at the Livingston campus, a medical office building at the St. Elizabeth campus, a significant rejuvenation of the adult and adolescent mental health facilities, and so much more. And I love telling you about the NIL deals that they've done as well. We've told you plenty about Garrett Nussmeier, and recently they've introduced NIL deals with Jack Pyburn, with Bauer Sharp, with Harold Perkins. You can, of course, learn more at ololrmc.com/LSU. ololrmc.com/LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. I asked Darry Beckwith, as a linebacker preparing to defend against LSU, what would you see and how would you defend against the Tigers?
I see I'm going to have a great day. That's what I see as a linebacker. I see offensive linemen that's extremely soft and not athletic and can't work up to the second level. As a linebacker, I worry about O-linemen when I see them combo block and then work up to the second level really quick, and they're able to shield off a defender and turn me in the hole. They don't do any of that. And I'm not going to try to get all fancy and get schematical and say, oh, man, we can attack LSU offense this way. You don't have to have a scheme against the LSU offense because they don't have an identity and they don't have a scheme themselves. So it's easy. Watching them on film, I know we're going to dominate them. Watching them on film, I know they're not tough. I know they're not physical. I know they finger point. And I know on second down they're going to run the football. I've watched them all year long. It seems like on second and 6 or 2nd and long, they run the football every single time. And if typically, 40% of the time they're going to throw a bubble screen to the wide receiver. So it's really not much to scheme against, and it's really not much to prepare for, sadly to say. So I'm licking my fingers, I'm licking my chops, and I'm just ready to have a big-time game if I'm a defender playing this LSU offense.
Do you think they can fix it offensively?
No.
Why not?
It's week 7. I haven't seen any improvement. If you watch every college football team in America that's competing for a playoff position, Matt, and you watch a lot of football, you do a great job. I watch you every day. I have my son watching. He's almost like mimicking you right now. It's kind of scary. As a matter of fact, he's going to stop watching you. Every team that you see competing for a playoff, Matt, you have to be honest with yourself. Offensively, they have improved. I watched Alabama. Didn't look so great against Florida State offensively. Guess what? They've improved. Ohio State, even though they beat Texas the first game, offensively they didn't look so great. They've improved. We have been 7 games, Matt, and I cannot sit here and say that LSU offense has improved. Now I think they're due for 1 game. I hope so. That's just because of large numbers. But they haven't improved. So if you haven't improved, I can't say that they can fix it.
Yeah, you're right, man. I sure hope the Tigers are ready to prove Darry Beckwith and a lot of people wrong, but that's a heavy lift. But A&M has a lot of history working against them in this game Saturday night in Tiger Stadium as well. Been a really good show, and we appreciate you for hanging out with us here on today's episode of Locked on LSU, your team every day. We appreciate you for making us your first listen every day. Don't forget about Locked on SEC with our guy, Chris Gordy. Shout out, LSU proud. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports and the rivalries, the championships, and every game in between. You can find Locked on SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. No doubt Gordy will be breaking down the LSU Texas A&M matchup and every matchup this weekend, including maybe some sleepers a little bit. Vandy, Missouri, all of a sudden looks super intriguing. College Game Day will be there. Alabama, red hot. They go on the road to South Carolina. A lot of questions around Shane Beamer. Could that be a trap spot for the Crimson Tide after a big win over Tennessee? You can catch all of it on Locked on SEC with our buddy Chris Gordy. So make sure you subscribe as well. Hey, that'll do it for us here. If you are listening, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much for being here as well. Please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And be sure to let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you here every single day. For Locked on LSU, it's your team every day.